You are the holy grail, the Magdalene. Woman, no need to search any longer. The priest is...
Welcome to the Woman Arising podcast, hosted by Cathy Hartenstein and Zeffi Devi, where we elevate and celebrate inspiring women on the rise. In this podcast, we talk to women from all walks of life about their soul's journey, the obstacles they overcame, and how they embody their feminine power. We hope to elevate women's place in the world, showcase their contributions, and provide inspiration for all women to rise to their fullest potential. Today, our guest is Valerie Irons, an artist, sound alchemist, breathwork practitioner, and kirtan wala, who has been practicing in Sedona, Arizona since 2014. Immersed in the world of sacred sound, Valerie offers private sessions called Sound Wave Journeys using her sound wave bed, as well as group sound alchemy journeys. She also incorporates sound alchemy into her transformational breathwork and womb healing sessions, guiding others on their journey of awakening through sound, breath, meditation, and creativity. Valerie is dedicated to divine healing through the arts and is deeply inspired by divine love, for which she is profoundly grateful. Welcome, Valerie. It's our true pleasure to have you here today. Women Arising has been very lucky to have you participate in so many of our Women Arising events in the past. You've been very integral to our work because you've been so dedicated to uplifting women through your sound healing and kirtan music.
Thank you, Cathy. Thank you so much, Cathy and Zeffi, for having me on here. It's an honor and it's a joy to see you both again. So thank you so much.
It is for us too. Thank you for taking our invitation because, you know, I know your busy schedule. But, well, honey, I just, you know, you've been in so many Women Arising. So I would take you a little bit back to the first time you heard, you know, our invitation of being part of us, part of the Women Arising movement. So I want to I want you to think what it felt for you. What was the emotions that came up? Or if you're still bringing some of those emotions into this, you know, into today, because we've been doing this since long time now.
Long time. I think that when you first invited me, I was kind of on the beginning journey of sound healing publicly. And I think this was one of the first times that I brought my gongs. I believe it was gongs and maybe even crystal bowls out to your event. And so I felt excitement. I felt honored because I know that the events that you've been putting on, that Women Arising was putting on prior to your taking over, they're very high caliber, very high caliber events. And so I felt really honored and I felt excited. And it felt as if I was stepping into a new me at that time of my life. And so that kind of helped to set that in.
That's amazing. And you, I like that. That was part of the beginning of being an alchemist, sound alchemist, correct?
Yes, it was. And I think that we are constantly stepping into new versions of ourselves. And but that was a big one for me.
Yeah. Thank you for stepping into our place. Such a gratitude and such a happiness and excitement. Because I remember you were a little bit nervous to begin with, but I was like, let's just do it. Come on, I know do it.
Yeah, I was nervous. It took a while to get my comfort level in public, in front of, but sharing my gifts in front of other people. It took a while to really be comfortable with that. And feel
but you were amazing and you still are. And we're still doing Women Arising with you. Here we are. So thank you for being part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the sound healing, it really was the through line of everything that we did, you know, at our live events, and was such an integral part. But I'm curious, like when you heard that term Woman Arising, like what did that mean to you? What did that invoke in you, hearing that term?
it's a very important term. I think that we've been living in a patriarchal society for such a long time, and that women, we didn't have our voices. Well, we had our voices, but we weren't free to express our feelings and our thoughts. And it wasn't until the 70s where that started to shift, at least in the Western world. It was 1974 when women were allowed to have their own bank account and get a credit card. Can you believe it? I was already 11 years old, and it's just amazing to me. So over the decades, over the years, women, we're becoming stronger, and we're becoming more expressive in who we are, and showing that we have something to offer the world. And we offer it with a strength and with a compassion and a gentleness that most of our leaders in the patriarchal world aren't doing. And so I think it's really beautiful to see people bloom when they're able to buy their own home, or when they're able to open their own business, and when they're able to stand up and talk in front of 1,000 people and really make a difference.
I absolutely love that answer. And I think it's true. It's like a momentum, a sense of us standing in our power, being able to really be fully realized in that. And I think that's really important. And I like that when you came to us at Women Rising, that was almost a moment of your rising in a lot of ways, which was nice. I'd love to hear a little bit about your life's journey. I know that you've been deep into doing this sound work, and I've benefited from it. And I'm a big fan of your kirtan music. I listen to it every day, actually. And it's just really powerful work that you're doing. But how did you get there? What was this journey, that you kind of went on, because I know, just knowing you a little bit, that there were many different aspects to kind of get you to where you are today.
It's so true. It's so true. I briefly, I was really lucky. I lived in a household where we traveled the world. I grew up in Taiwan and Thailand for most of my elementary schooling. And so every 2 years we got to take a home leave and come back to the United States. And we would do that going through Europe and through Asia and visiting all sorts of places. So I already had a real worldwide view. But then my parents wanted to be in one place when I was in high school. So we stuck in one place near the San Diego area. And I went off to college. I didn't know what I wanted. Nothing really seemed right for me. I ended up being a college dropout. And I ended up working in the film industries, which is what I wanted to do. I got disillusioned with the film industry. And I quickly dove into a world of wildness. I got into recreational drug use, and I really took that path deeply. That's the only way I can describe it. I explored with hallucinogenics and ecstasy and cocaine and things of that nature. And I really took it to its limit. And there was a time where I knew I wanted out of that world. I was going to a lot of, that was the beginning of the rave scene in Los Angeles. So I was spending nights out and, 48 hours before I would come back home. And it was crazy, and I wanted out. So I went on a trip with my mother. She wanted to take me to see where my father lived in Vietnam while we were living in Taiwan and Thailand. And so we went on a trip to Asia. And she was with me for 2 months. And after, I knew that my ticket was good for 1 year. And so after 2 months, I said, I'm not coming home with you, right? And she said, I know. So I stayed backpacking, and I went throughout Asia, backpack. And I found myself gravitating towards these places that were having raves on the sand, on the beaches. And so I was repeating that cycle. And I went over to India to a place called Goa. And in Goa, I had a very intense, I'm going to say flip out. I flipped out on acid. And I came home very broken. And it was probably a 3-month process in Goa that just kept breaking me over and over and over again. And I came home a shell of a person that I was. So the rug got pulled out from under me. I came home and my dad had died a year prior. I came home and my mom died in my arms of a heart attack a month to the day that I returned home.
Wow.
And that started me on a healing journey. It was really a long, hard few years. I cried every day for about 3 years. And I was determined to get through it. And I was reading lots of books, spiritual books. I was already on a spiritual path prior to that. But I did everything I could to heal myself. And a lot of it was just time and getting back out there. I was in this kind of space of, I believe what happened was that being on LSD kind of shot my consciousness forward too fast.
Mhm.
What I know now is that as we are ascending, that we need to work one chakra at a time, work with our lower chakra. And I think I just blasted out through my crown chakra and it blew my circuit. But I've learned throughout the years and decades, when I started working with different healers and started doing different modalities and taking care of my body and yoga and starting to cleanse my body and slowly work through the trauma that I had experienced in Goa over the years. And I started to make art, and art took me out of that headspace of trauma. It brought me into my heart and it connected me with God. And so as I was making art, the connection that I felt was so profound, and it stayed steady. I still had some trauma, and that still contracted me and didn't allow me to live a fully expressed life at that time. And then in about 2012, 2013, mantra really took a hold of me, and mantra music took a hold of me. And at the same time, sound healing, I started playing with a bowl and I started using my voice. So both of those, mantra music and sound healing, happened at the same time, like two different tracks of life going through life at the same time. And what happened with that is that it catapulted from this level I had been stuck with just making art. And I switched gears and I started writing my own melodies to mantras and put a band together. And I started doing sound healing and collecting instruments, and I bought my sound healing bed. And so all of that started happening in about 2013, my bed arrived. So that's really when it started to push, and I just slowly but surely kept working and collecting instruments and kept giving sessions and doing retreats and doing events like Women Arising. There you have it in a nutshell.
No, it's absolutely fascinating. And I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think there's a lot of people who, are in that space where they're sort of experimenting, expanding, and get lost. And how you find your way back, I think, is such an important thing. And I love what you said about creativity and making art, and that is a spiritual connection. I'm a creative person too, and I really identify with that. And I think a lot of the times that gets overlooked, but it is part of your spiritual practice. And so I find that really powerful. One of the things that you were discussing was that you went on that healing journey, and I'd love to hear, what were the things, like the realizations or the big shifts that you were able to have in that? What were the major obstacles you could overcome, and kind of what shaped and defined you along that path?
Oh, that's a great question. At one point, I was living in Los Angeles, And I thought I needed to be in Los Angeles where I was doing all these recreational drugs in order to stop doing all these recreational drugs so that I could show my power and say, I don't need that anymore, even though I know it's right there. And a friend kept inviting me to visit in Sedona. And one day, after a couple of years, it took a couple of years, I decided to finally come to Sedona and visit. And when I came up here, I thought, oh my gosh, these are my peas in a pod. These are
Mhm.
my people. And I went on top of a mountain on a hike by myself, and I kept thinking I was going to return to Los Angeles and try one more thing in the film industry, try to be a set designer. And I had already tried a couple things, and things just weren't clicking for me there. And I thought, okay, well, I'll go there and I'll try to do that again. And God gave me a joke on the mountaintop and said, she showed me the hamster wheel with the hamster just running in the hamster wheel, and I got it really quickly, and I laughed, tears were pouring out of my eyes, and I got the joke, and I went home and I packed my house and I moved, and so that was huge. Moving to Sedona from Los Angeles months after 9/11. Like
Mm.
during my decision to move, 9/11 happened and Los Angeles changed a lot.
Mhm.
And to move to Sedona where everybody was free and not everybody was talking about 9/11 24 hours a day, um, it was huge. And at that time, I really felt God in nature. So that was a really, really, really big thing for me.
Yeah, I think nature is very healing, you know, and grounding, and helps us have the space sometimes to really know things about ourselves, or know sort of how to carve our own directions a lot of the time. And then, as you were kind of being shaped and defined, how did that all manifest for you, like in terms of where you're at now?
Well, being in Sedona, everybody in this is very progressive in a way, and there's all sorts of different therapies and therapists and different modes of healing. And everybody who lives in Sedona is pretty in tune with all of those methods. And so I got to try many, many different things. And all of it expanded my mind. All of it expanded my consciousness. Seeing different people come through town. There's so many amazing people. All the way from Greg Braden to Joe Dispenza to Bashar. All these amazing people coming to town, amazing yogis coming to town to teach. It was the best place that I could possibly be to expand my consciousness, the knowledge portion of my world. And then, as a matter of fact, 2 years ago, it was April of 22. I got a diagnosis of breast cancer. And so that is always a shock. I don't know if anybody knows how shocking it is to get a cancer diagnosis, but it didn't surprise me. The reason why I had been pretty alone in my adult life without a love partner, and that affected my emotion. And there are so many different emotional reasons why cancer comes into the body, or emotion turns into cancer in the body. So I've been working through all of that. And also I've really had a good look studying different ways of treating cancer, and diving in with all the people who are healing cancer naturally. And there are so many people who are healing cancer naturally. And one of the things I found with the Western method was that once you find a lump, you go get an ultrasound, a mammogram, and then they send you to get a biopsy, and then the doctor receives the diagnosis and they call you. The next step from diagnosis is to go to the surgeon and meet with the surgeon. And I thought, wait a minute, hold on here. I want to know all of the options. I don't want to go right to the surgeon. And I did. I went right to the surgeon, and she said, okay, well, do you want a lumpectomy or a mastectomy? And I said, hold on, I don't want either one of those. I want to try to heal this naturally. And most people aren't given the whole picture, and they're suddenly on the conveyor belt of Western medicine, and that looks like surgery. They immediately schedule the chemo, they immediately schedule the surgery, they immediately schedule all the radiation. So there's a big step missing in the Western methods of treating cancer. And so I have been on this journey for a little over 2 years now, and I'm doing great. I've not had surgery, I've not had chemotherapy, I've not had radiation. I've been working with a naturopathic oncologist, and I've been doing a lot of healing, emotional healing, and a lot of different modalities and different treatments that they're doing in Europe and Asia that they're not allowed to do here in America. So there's so many different options, and creating a website about all of that, and different products and things of that nature. So living in Sedona, I mean, has taught me a lot, and taken a new turn, taking me on a new turn in life.
Well, and I love this because this is something that you are skilled at as a healing journey, because you've
Yeah.
been through it on multiple layers and levels. And that might be part of your time here, is learning about what that means on so many different levels. And that, maybe because you have an intimate relationship with how to do a healing journey, taking that on for yourself, because that takes courage sometimes. We're so sort of thrown into that, and cancer is a scary thing, but to be able to take control of your own healing process, to make those decisions, to have other options to do that, I think is super important, because I think a lot of times we feel very vulnerable in those situations. We don't feel like we get to make as many choices as we want to. So I think that's really exciting that you were able to do that for yourself, because I think a lot of times that can be a challenging thing to do. But as you're getting through this healing journey, you can help other people, as it sounds like you've already started to do. You've had such an incredible life story, and you've lived in so many different cultures, and you've kind of been a maverick in a lot of ways, and gone down different paths, and not necessarily lived in that traditional setting. But as a woman, that can be a challenge, right? Because so often there's already a patriarchy that's making life difficult for us. As a woman, how did you have the courage to do some of those things, take some of these leaps of faith? And were there times where you ran into obstacles or felt marginalized because you were a woman?
Absolutely. I think I grew up kind of feeling like I could do anything. And I think living in other countries made it easier for me to choose to go to other countries alone. But there were plenty of people who would say, aren't you scared? I say, no, I'm not scared at all. I don't feel any fear. And it wasn't until, let's say, I was in Rishikesh, which is the north of India, where many, many gurus are. And I was staying sometime in an ashram. And the guru there, I think this was 2015, and he told us, he said, women, ladies, don't walk alone in town. Don't go down to the river by yourself, go in groups. And he said that there were a lot of women, foreign and Indian women, getting raped. And gang raped also often. So that was really the only time. And I could feel at that moment a shift for me, that I didn't feel necessarily safe. And since then, I've heard of stories where women are almost kidnapped in taxis alone. And but up until that time, I had no fear whatsoever. I did it all. I walked around alone, and I had amazing experiences. But I think also maybe the world is changing a little bit. But yeah, that's one area where I felt kind of dampered.
Yeah. Where you were used to being able to go and do what
Yeah.
you wanted to do. And then realizing the way that, and especially in all different parts of the world, it's a lot of different things culturally too. And just being able to have a certain level of freedom that you were accustomed to. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
But I'll add, when I was in the Middle East, we had to cover our arms. We couldn't wear tank tops. And actually, men would grab women. They would grab different body parts on the buses or things like that, especially if you were showing your skin.
Hmm.
That was another thing that I had to get used to. So learning to follow the rules in certain country, I think is always a good idea. Yeah.
Well, this is a lot. Thank you for sharing all that and specific your healing journey, because I think that is such a terrifying place to be at the same time. But as a healer, you know that you can heal it.
Yes.
And that is a nation of like really discovering your femininity through that. I think we discover who we are as women when we decide to be terrified, look at our fear straight in the eye, but at the same time, we know that we can take care of it. So can you describe in that moments that you felt that your feminine self was really becoming stronger, or you discover something new about your feminine side? I just want to know, because I know you always been a feminine, I know you always dress beautifully and you love colors and all that, but this is a different experience, because being feminine is not always about how we dress or how we do our hair. It's also the things that happen to us.
Right. I did see a big change in my vulnerability with the cancer diagnosis. I became softer. I became, I think what happened is I decided I needed to clear off my plate and not work so hard. And so I left all the mornings for my healing. So that included meditation, that includes Qigong, that includes sometimes yoga, sometimes bouncing, taking different supplements and enjoying my tea. And my mornings are clear for me. And then I don't work until the afternoons now. But with that, and with looking at all of my wounds, all of the wounds that I've had over decades in my childhood, I became more vulnerable, and my tears would flow more easily. I've always been very stoic. I'm a double Capricorn, and I can handle stuff. But in this journey, I've found that my tears are flowing, and I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable with more people. And it feels nice, because under the vulnerability is a very, very deep strength. And I know that, and I've always shown my strong side. And so this is new, and I like it.
So what do you take from this experience so far? Because I know the healing journey, any healing journey, not just cancer or anything, it's never over. But so far, of this 2 years, what are you taking from that as your experiences? What can you share and tell us?
One thing that happened just 6 months ago that was profound, super, super profound. Up till then, I was still sometimes living in a little fear, with strength, but fear, and worry, a lot of worry. I had a lot of worry, like, oh, is it going to be okay? Is this worrying about the future, worrying about whether it would go away? And then something shifted in about March of this year, and it was two different healers that said just two different sentences to me, and I got it. And I saw that I had become my healing journey. That was me. It was all one, and that I needed to separate back out from the healing journey and live my life again. Start putting my attention on what I wanted to create. And in that moment, wow, everything shifted. I feel like I immediately went to a different timeline. I immediately ended up in a different place where this Valerie is got it. It's going to be fine. But all of that worry and that fear that I had felt for a year and a half, or almost 2 years, is gone. And so, I think that's a really, really important piece. And you have to know that you're going to heal. You have to absolutely know that you're going to heal. There can't be any doubt, even if what's happening, it looks pretty scary. It looks pretty gnarly and it's not fitting the script yet of where you want to go. Because eventually it turns around and it starts fitting the script, and so suddenly things are happening and things are shrinking and things are working. But it's this knowing that allows you to be courageous to do it in this way, and also knowing that this is the long way. This is not the short way. This is the long way. The short way is having surgery and doing chemo and radiation, because they're finished in a very short amount of time. And this is really the long way. And am I okay to live with this? And I am okay. And am I okay for whatever outcome happens? And I am okay.
Mm.
And because it's an amount of trust and an amount of knowing and courage.
And that's also very powerful, because, now I'm going to be a client to you. And, because my clients ask me that all the time. How do I get to know that? How, what advice you give to someone, like when you said, I have to know, I have to be detached from my healing journey, but really understand that I'm going to be okay. Do you have any advice how to get there?
That's a really good question. I have not put that in writing yet. I'm in the process of writing an ebook, but I have not that question. I'm going to have to answer that question in the ebook. For me, I was very lucky in that I had been working with a lot of healers who gave me a lot of hope. I do believe that people who are surrounding a person who's going through a journey like this, who are not believing in them, not believing that it can be done. I had to cut ties with a lot of people who were pushing the Western way and not giving me space to make my own decision. Like my brother and his wife. I actually had to get mad and I had to yell at them, and I had to allow my anger to come up. And I'm like, this is not okay. What you guys are saying to me and doing right now is not okay. And so, getting in touch with that inner fire, like, whoa, this is not okay. It's my body and I get to make the decisions that I want to make. That's one way to do it. But you really have to believe. And how do you believe? For me, it was that moment where I saw it. It was just a moment where I shifted consciousness. I think that the mind, almost all about the mind is so powerful. And what I would suggest to people who are going through something like this is to get the mind on track, is to do something like a Joe Dispenza program, reading his books, doing some of his meditations, and maybe seeing, he has a version 1 that you do online, and then he does a different one in person. But people are able to shift their thinking with programs like that. And he's not the only one out there, but he's like probably the biggest one. So I think that it's down to the mind. After you're doing everything, you're doing the physical stuff, you've changed your diet, you've gotten rid of all the toxins in your house, you have done the emotional healing, you've done the writing and the meditation and the better spiritual practice. All of that stuff is important. But the mind, it all comes down to the mind and the belief system. And working on that is hands down one of the most important things.
Well, that kind of reminds me of how Buddha got enlightened, correct? He sat underneath a tree and then realized everything. In the moment, the mind just kind of shifts. You're getting into a different consciousness and you're like, okay, you're detached, which is the most important thing. You detach of what's happening, of the pain, of the sorrow, or even the attachment to be, on a healing journey constantly. And as soon as you detach, that whole thing just appears. And then the answer is right there to your question and to your healing. That's amazing. That is really amazing that you just got it like that. I know you, so, and I love you because you are like that. I know your personality, and I've seen you go through this click thing, not in your healing journey, but in your life, because we know each other a few years now. So that is amazing. So the other question is, what other things that you will do in your personal life and in your professional life starting now? Because I know you're starting new. So what is things that you like to do, and kind of like how you blend those two now?
I start every morning with meditation, and I actually do my meditation topless in front of a red light. So I take off my top and I do it in front of my infrared and near infrared light. And I do 20 minutes of that. And I turn off the light and I go longer in meditation, but I don't start my day without meditation anymore. I don't let that slide. What did someone call it? Spiritual chemotherapy. Great. I also feel a lot better when I do Qigong. I really love my Qigong and moving my body. So those are super, super important to me. And I've been working on my limiting beliefs and really diving into those and writing them out, really feeling where I feel them in my body, and then going into a meditative state where I connect and I turn them around from the I am and make them opposite. So that's something I think is really important. And let's see, before a session, before I go to work, I call God to work through. And I like to connect in that way. And I ask God to work through me and to let me be the hands of God, so to speak, just to work through me, that I'm out of the way and grounded. I like to ground into Mother Earth from my womb to her heart. And I think that's really important because I think we as women, born as women, have this extra connection to the mother through our womb. And that's important. So these are little things that I bring in, and bringing beauty and ceremony in, more flowers, more rose petals, more candlelight, more scent, different sprays or different oils and things like that. Just bringing more beauty and allowing our femininity to rise, because we in this world have had to be a strong masculine, because since the 70s, we are having the same jobs as men, and we are doing it all. And so we had to be really strong, real strong masculine in a masculine world. And so now that's out of balance. So bringing the feminine up to meet the masculine, because we need that masculine. We need it. We have to do that. We have to get stuff done, but bringing the feminine up in any way that we can, in so many ways: creativity, beautiful bath, beautiful clothing, feeling our inner purchaseness, and really letting it shine.
That I like that blend, because you come from like spiritual chemotherapy to also calling God in you and connecting with your womb. So all of it is kind of blending together. So yes, and being a healer, that's easy, but women in the other types of world that they live in, the other types of jobs, it will be kind of hard to walk into the office and say, bring God in. But I think it's not, because that is a great advice. You can go from any type of job, from any kind of woman walk of life. You can be anywhere, working anywhere, and do that. So I think that is a great thing. Like you walk in, even I just visualize walk into an office and say, God, let me do the best work ever. And in the morning you have done your meditation, so it's very powerful. Thank you for that. That's done. You really have changed. I haven't seen you because it's not in Sedona, and I'm jealous when you were talking about it because I miss it. I was there a year ago. But yeah, I think you have done tremendous work within yourself. And it's just, I'm so happy to see you growing so much over this few years, and fast.
Yeah, fast. It was like, woo. Yeah.
It's so fascinating to hear your journey and the inner wisdom that this journey has afforded you. And that as you are now in this place, from what I'm hearing, is there's this deep commitment to yourself in a whole new way.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe because of all of the things that you've done, the travels you've had, the, drugs that you experienced, the workshops that you took, the creativity that you found, it's like all kind of synthesizing at this moment for you. And you're able to walk into planes almost, right? Like with a ongoing kind of connection to this bigger consciousness, but also be grounded deeply in who you are and in now and in that sort of self-creation. You've become sort of married there, which is exciting to hear about and to witness for those of us who've known you for so long. And it doesn't surprise me because you have a deep channel to this energy and to this work that's keeps coming out of you no matter what you do. And I'm thrilled that it's just expanding and growing, and you're able to share it in new ways with new people. So that's really exciting. To close out, knowing this kind of extraordinary journey you have, what is it that you wish maybe somebody had told you as a young person, or the thing that maybe you wish you knew, so that other people can kind of understand that journey in a deep way?
Yes. That everything that is meant for you will come to you in the right timing. God's timing, not your timing. And literally don't have to go anywhere. Things come to you. The things that are meant to happen unfold effortlessly. It's just like miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. And it's a beautiful, beautiful dance with the divine. That's what I would tell myself. So don't fret, don't worry, don't cry anymore. You'll be dancing with the divine in a beautiful way.
I love that. Dancing with the divine. It's such a great, beautiful image. It's been so exciting to talk to you today. How can people connect with you, Valerie? And how could they get your music? Because, I'm a huge groupie. Or, I know you can come to Sedona, but what are the many ways people might be able to reach out and connect and experience some of the work that you're doing?
Thank you. I've got a couple of different websites. The first one is valerieirons.com. And I own a company called ombasesedona.com, AUMBASE, Sedona.com. And that's a yoga hiking company, sound healing hikes and things of that nature. And also the new website is to help people who are going through a cancer healing journey. And it's called cancersupporthub.com. And that is still in the works. I'm uploading different blogs and different videos and different products that are really helpful all the time. So that's constantly changing.
I really hope you go check out all three of those websites. I think you will find some really exciting things. If you come to Sedona, don't miss out on getting a sound healing with Valerie or going on one of these hikes and experiencing nature in that way. And if you are on a cancer journey, this might be an amazing resource for you to really understand all the different options that you can use and different things and ways in which you can heal yourself. And then please get her album if you like kirtan music, because it's really good. So thank you so much, Valerie. We've loved having you today.
Thank you, Cathy. Thank you, Zeffi. Oh, it's so lovely to see your faces. What a delight this has been. Thank you.
Been great to see you again.
Thank you for tuning in to Woman Arising, where we celebrate the resilience, wisdom, and power of women on the rise. Remember, when women rise, we all rise. If you're ready to embark on your journey of empowerment, sign up for our mailing list at womenarising.com and join our community of strong, inspiring women. To connect with Zeffi Devi and ignite your inner fire, visit zeffidevi.com and sign up to get your free tantric meditation. Let Zeffi illuminate your path, helping you discover the magic and power that reside within you. To connect with Cathy Hartenstein and claim your spectacularness, visit createmorebliss.com and sign up for a free 30-minute consult call where she can help you break through your emotional blocks to success. Let Cathy be your guide on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. Thank you for being a part of the Woman Arising community. Together, let's continue to uplift, inspire, and empower women everywhere. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and keep embracing the divine feminine power that resides within you.
You are the Holy Grail, the Magdalene. Woman, no need to search any longer.